Nisha Verma thought she had found the man of her dreams, Arjun Malhotra, a charming, successful groom with promises of love and a bright future. But behind the perfect smile and foreign accent lurked a dangerous secret. Arjun wasn't who he claimed to be, and their fairy tale marriage would spiral into a deadly trap of lies, deception, and murder. The day of the wedding arrived like a festival. The sun was bright, the air filled with music and laughter, and everyone's attention was on the handsome groom, Arjun Malhotra. He had arrived in Pune only a few months earlier, saying he had returned from London after years of studying and running a successful business. His confident voice, foreign accent, and expensive suit instantly won people's admiration. Guests whispered about how lucky Nisha Verma was to have found such a charming and well-settled husband. Arjun's side of the story sounded perfect, a modern man with traditional values, wealthy yet humble, and deeply respectful of family traditions. The wedding venue sparkled with golden lights and jasmine garlands. Nisha's family spared no expense, wanting everything to be grand. Her father proudly told guests that Arjun had promised to take Nisha abroad after the wedding, and everyone praised the match. The photographer captured smiling faces, unaware that one of them hid a dangerous truth. Arjun's smile appeared effortless, but his eyes moved restlessly, scanning the crowd as if searching for something or someone. Throughout the ceremony, Arjun played the part of the perfect groom. He spoke softly to the elders, touched their feet for blessings, and posed lovingly beside Nisha. Every gesture looked genuine, but it was all a well-rehearsed act. Behind the charm and confidence, Arjun was not who he claimed to be. His real name, background, and story were all fabrications carefully designed to trap another innocent family. While the wedding songs played and guests danced joyfully, no one imagined that this celebration marked the beginning of a tragedy, one that would soon expose lies, betrayal, and a shocking crime that no one could have predicted. Arjun Malhotra's life story sounded flawless, yet there were signs of mystery that most people ignored. He claimed to have been born in Delhi but raised in London, where he supposedly built a small import business. Whenever someone asked about his parents, he said they had passed away long ago, leaving him their wealth and property. His stories were always filled with impressive details: business meetings in Dubai, expensive cars in London, and a luxurious flat near Kensington. Yet, no one ever saw a single photograph or proof. To those around him, he seemed like a man who had everything, but his past was as empty as the promises he made. Even Nisha, blinded by love and excitement, noticed strange habits. He avoided phone calls when she was around and always used different numbers. He refused to let her or her family visit his so-called office, saying it was under renovation. When her father offered to meet his relatives, Arjun said his only uncle lived abroad and couldn't travel. Every question was answered smoothly, leaving no space for doubt. His documents, passport, ID, business registration, all appeared genuine, but they were part of a larger deception. What nobody knew was that months before arriving in Pune, Arjun had stolen another man's identity. He had crafted this fake life with precision, collecting forged papers and altering photos to fit his new image. He had practiced speaking with a foreign accent and studied details of London's neighborhoods to make his story sound real. Beneath his polished exterior was a man who had nothing: no career, no family, no real name. Yet, with charm and confidence, he had built a mask so convincing that even the most cautious people saw him as an ideal son-in-law. After the grand wedding, Arjun and Nisha moved into a newly rented apartment in Mumbai's upscale neighborhood. It was modern and beautifully decorated, though most of the furniture had been quickly bought on credit. Nisha felt lucky to begin her new life in such comfort, unaware that everything around her was built on lies. Arjun acted like a caring husband, cooking breakfast some mornings, bringing her flowers, and speaking gently about their future together. He often mentioned business trips and meetings, pretending to be busy and successful. Nisha, completely in love, believed every word he said. Within a week, Arjun began hinting at financial troubles in his company. He said a shipment had been delayed, and his funds were temporarily frozen overseas. Concerned, Nisha spoke to her parents, who quickly offered help. They transferred jewelry, cash, and even a large dowry payment into Arjun's account, thinking it would strengthen the couple's new start. Arjun thanked them warmly, promising to return every penny soon. That evening, he seemed happier than ever, talking about taking Nisha on a honeymoon abroad. But the next morning, everything changed. Nisha woke up to an empty apartment. Arjun's clothes, his laptop, and all important documents were gone. His phone was switched off, and all his social media accounts had vanished overnight. Panic rushed through her as she called his number again and again, hoping for a mistake. Hours turned into days, but there was no trace of him anywhere. Her family searched every contact and friend he had mentioned, only to realize those people didn't exist. The dream marriage had turned into a nightmare. Nisha sat in disbelief, surrounded by silence. As the horrifying truth began to take shape, her husband was not missing. He had never been real at all. Nisha's world fell apart as days passed with no sign of Arjun. Confusion turned into desperation. She searched every corner of their apartment, hoping to find something that could explain his disappearance. One afternoon, while cleaning the bedroom, she noticed the back of the wardrobe was loose. Pulling it away, she found a dusty brown file carefully hidden behind a wooden panel. Her hands trembled as she opened it, expecting bills or old papers, but what she saw froze her completely. Inside were multiple ID cards, passports, and documents, all with different names but the same photograph. Some showed him as Arjun Malhotra, others as Rohit Sinha, Aman Khurana, and Raj Mehta. Each identity came with different addresses, occupations, and background stories. There were also photographs of several women, most dressed in bridal clothes, smiling next to the same man who had promised her forever. Nisha realized with horror that her marriage had been part of a larger scam. Arjun had done this before, marrying women, gaining their trust, taking their money, and disappearing. Every photo told a different story, each one ending the same way: betrayal. She found forged business licenses, fake company seals, and even a handwritten list of phone numbers labeled targets. The more she read, the clearer it became that her husband was a professional con artist. Every memory she had shared with him was a performance, every promise a trap. The expensive gifts he had given her were part of the illusion, tools to make her believe in his success. Nisha collapsed on the floor, surrounded by evidence of lies, unable to understand how someone could live such a double life. What she once thought was love now looked like a carefully constructed crime, designed to destroy her world from within. The shock of discovery soon turned into determination. Nisha gathered all the fake documents and took them to the nearest police station. The officers were astonished at the scale of the fraud. A case was immediately registered under cybercrime and fraud, and a special investigation team began working on tracing the man behind the multiple identities. Through his fake bank accounts, the police uncovered several transactions matching patterns from unsolved marriage scams across different states. Each case involved a similar story: a charming man, a quick wedding, a vanished groom, and a devastated bride left behind. Investigators connected the dots, identifying at least 5 victims who had been deceived in the past 3 years. The man known as Arjun Malhotra had used different names and addresses each time. He kept moving from city to city, targeting families through marriage websites and social media. His confidence, polished English, and foreign mannerisms made people trust him easily. No one ever questioned his authenticity until it was too late. The search led the police to Delhi, where reports suggested he was preparing for another fake wedding under a new name, Rohan Sethi. He had already convinced another family that he was an NRI businessman. The wedding date was set, and once again, he was about to disappear with money and jewelry after the ceremony. Nisha, though broken, felt a sense of purpose. She knew that stopping him would not only bring justice for herself, but also save other women from falling into his trap. As the police began tracking his movements, Nisha silently prepared for the confrontation she knew was coming. The moment she would face the man who had destroyed her life and expose the truth he had built from lies. Nisha couldn't rest after learning that Arjun, now calling himself Rohan Sethi, was living freely in Delhi and preparing for yet another wedding. The thought of him smiling beside another innocent bride filled her with rage. She gathered her courage and decided to confront him, no matter the risk. With help from her cousin, she traveled to Delhi and found the address of a luxury farmhouse where the engagement was set to take place. When she arrived quietly at night, the place glowed with expensive decorations, fairy lights, and music. Inside, Arjun stood confidently among guests, wearing a new name, a new outfit, and the same false charm. He laughed, greeting people as if nothing had ever happened. Nisha hid behind a pillar, watching him speak proudly to the bride's family. Every gesture reminded her of the man she once trusted. For a moment, she felt her heart break all over again. But then, anger replaced the pain. She began secretly recording videos on her phone, capturing his face and voice. Her plan was simple: gather proof, inform the police, and make sure this time he couldn't escape. She quietly alerted the local police about his location and waited for their arrival. As she watched, she overheard guests praising him, repeating the same lies she had once believed. It was like reliving her own nightmare in slow motion. Arjun's confidence showed no cracks. He had perfected his performance. But destiny was closing in. Before the police could reach, a small mistake exposed him. Someone in the crowd noticed Nisha and recognized her from news reports about the fake groom scam. Murmurs spread, guests began whispering, and within minutes, Arjun's perfect act started to crumble under the weight of truth. As whispers filled the farmhouse, confusion turned into chaos. Guests began questioning who Nisha was and why she was there. Arjun's smile faded when he saw her standing at the entrance, holding her phone with the recordings still running. For a moment, he froze. Then he tried to laugh it off, pretending not to know her, but the tension in the air was impossible to ignore. Nisha stepped forward, revealing his real name and exposing how he had ruined her life. She told the crowd he was a fraud who had married multiple women and vanished with their money. Shock spread through the guests like wildfire. The bride's family stared in disbelief, realizing they had nearly fallen into the same trap. Arjun tried to run, pushing through the crowd, but several men blocked his path. He shouted that it was all a lie, but his voice trembled. The anger in the room grew. The bride's relatives, humiliated and furious, grabbed him before he could escape. Someone slapped him, and then another joined in. Soon the scene turned violent. The crowd, driven by outrage and shame, lost control. They surrounded Arjun, beating him mercilessly as he begged for mercy. His designer clothes tore, his face covered in blood and dirt. Nisha screamed for them to stop, but no one listened. The crowd's fury drowned her voice. It was as if years of deceit and pain had exploded in that single moment. By the time police sirens echoed in the distance, Arjun had already collapsed. The once smooth talker, who had fooled so many with his fake stories, now lay motionless on the cold floor of the farmhouse. The mask finally ripped away, his lies ending in the violence he had unknowingly created himself. Arjun was rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. Doctors declared him dead on arrival. The news spread rapidly, igniting headlines across the country. Fake groom beaten to death after marriage scam exposed. Shock and fascination gripped the public. People could not believe that a man who had charmed so many families could meet such a violent end. Investigators began digging deeper into his past, determined to uncover the truth behind the man who had deceived so many. As police traced his records, a startling revelation came to light. Arjun Malhotra did not exist. His real name was Ravi Shankar, a small-time con artist from Bihar. His life had been a web of lies from the beginning. Ravi had spent years studying people's behaviors, learning how to manipulate emotions, and mastering the art of forgery. He had served a short jail sentence for fraud, and after his release, he perfected a new kind of crime: marriage scams. Every document he used, every accent he practiced, and every story he told had been carefully planned to appear real and trustworthy. The investigation revealed that he had swindled numerous women across India, each time leaving behind heartbreak and financial loss. Families came forward, sharing stories of their daughters' shattered lives and stolen dowries. Social media exploded with warnings and retellings of his exploits. Forensic experts examined his documents and photos, confirming the sophisticated level of deception. Though Ravi was gone, the damage he caused remained. Families were left financially ruined, brides emotionally scarred, and communities shaken by the scale of his crimes. His death closed one chapter of horror but opened questions about how a single man could manipulate so many lives. The story became a chilling reminder that charm and appearances could mask the darkest intentions. The aftermath of Arjun's, or rather, Ravi Shankar's, death was chaotic and filled with mixed emotions. Police arrested several individuals involved in the beating, including guests and family members who had taken justice into their own hands. Nisha, though innocent of any physical involvement, faced repeated questioning. She had become both a victim and a witness, her testimony critical for the ongoing investigation. Public opinion was divided. Some called it vigilante justice, while others believed the man had received what he deserved. Media outlets ran endless debates, analyzing whether society had failed to protect women from such scams or if personal revenge had crossed a dangerous line. Nisha's life had changed forever. Though her family stood by her, she struggled with trust and fear, haunted by the realization that the man she had loved and married had been nothing but a master manipulator. Friends and relatives tried to comfort her, but the scars ran deeper than anyone could see. She found herself constantly replaying moments of the wedding, the honeymoon, and the apartment, searching for signs she had missed. Each memory was now tinged with betrayal. Meanwhile, other families who had fallen victim to Ravi came forward, sharing stories of lost savings, stolen jewelry, and shattered dreams. Police compiled reports, creating a long list of his scams. For many, the emotional toll was heavier than the financial loss. Nisha began speaking to victims' families, offering support and encouraging them to report similar incidents. Slowly, she turned her pain into purpose, determined to prevent others from falling into the same trap. The court proceedings for those involved in the beating dragged on, but Nisha attended quietly, observing as justice unfolded in its slow, methodical way. Despite the legal battles and public attention, she remained strong, aware that the story of deceit, greed, and revenge had become more than her own. It was now a cautionary tale. Months after the shocking events, Nisha found herself standing outside the courthouse, watching the final verdict being announced. Several of the individuals involved in the beating of Ravi Shankar were found guilty of manslaughter, receiving sentences that reflected the severity of their actions. The courtroom was filled with families, journalists, and curious onlookers, each person carrying their own sense of justice or outrage. For Nisha, the verdict brought a mixture of relief and sorrow. Justice had been served in one sense, but the scars left by the man who had deceived her remained fresh and raw. She carried with her a small box containing the last gift Ravi had given her, a ring she had once thought was gold, now revealed to be worthless. Holding it, she reflected on how something that appeared valuable and genuine could hide so much deception. The memories of her wedding, the apartment, and the confrontation in Delhi lingered in her mind, reminders of a life turned upside down by lies. She realized that while the man who had caused immense pain was gone, the consequences of his actions would ripple through many lives for years to come. Nisha decided to use her experience to raise awareness about identity scams and fraudulent marriages. She met with families, shared her story, and emphasized the importance of verifying backgrounds and documents before making life-altering decisions. Her courage inspired others who had been victims to come forward, creating a network of support and vigilance. The story of Ravi Shankar, the man who lived through lies, ended in a violent death, but it became a lesson for countless others. Nisha understood that truth and vigilance were the only shields against deception. Though her heart had been broken, she found strength in sharing her story, turning personal tragedy into a cautionary tale. In the end, the marriage that began with dreams and celebration became a reminder that appearances could never be trusted blindly.